a line I learned a long time ago that still stands true today. It's about progress and not performance. Progress and not performance. As we're talking about like measuring things along the way and setting these achievable markers for ourselves, if we're focused on performance, or one of our clients is focused on performance over a short time period, it's inevitable that you're not going to meet that goal. The new year is upon us, and along with the new year comes, well, an opportunity to set new goals, but also reflect on the goals that were set, for example, in 2025. So how do you look at that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always healthy to look back at how the year went. And I know for me personally, I look at a couple of the goals that I had. Some I met, some I could have done better with. And I always like to say that it's a best effort. And with the goals that I had this year, the financial goal, and I specifically wanted to put enough money aside for some of our goals that we had with savings, and for the hefty one, my first year of paying for college.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah, those were met. Like I did those, we accomplished those. Some of the personal goals around my health and fitness, I think they started off really, really strong. And then as the year went on, other priorities took over where I was spending my time.
Probably somebody listening right now and hearing that could probably relate, right? A lot of things happen in the new year, right? New Year's resolutions. People are like, well, I'm gonna get back to the gym 4 times a week. I'm gonna do this, and then sometime, I don't know when that is, but sometime, maybe February or March, things happen, right? And priorities shift, and you move on to something else, right?
Yeah. Okay, so what type of goal setter are you, Ben? I like to put them into 3 different categories.
Let me ask you, where do you think I stand?
I think you set pretty hefty goals that you want to drive to succeed towards.
Okay. Yeah.
Would you agree?
I can agree with that. Yeah.
I
like
think
taking big swings.
I know you do.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. And I look at it as I like to look at, well, what is achievable?
Yeah.
And achievable doesn't mean easy. It means something I actually have to put effort and work towards and make sure that I can accomplish. Have you thought about any of those goals for 2026? Any of those big swings?
Oh boy, yeah, too many to mention this call probably, but there's goals that we have around, well, you mentioned one of them, like school, and things of that nature. There's always the fitness goals that are lurking out there. And what about you?
Yeah, I generally have as we do financial planning for all of our clients, I have a personal financial goal that we work towards and things we're trying to accomplish. And then I have a family goal that we're trying to do as a family and a personal health goal. Good. And I look at those 3 different goals and I set some what I would call achievable metrics. But I don't just set these goals at the beginning of the year. I like how you said you like to have measurements that you kind of do check-ins throughout the year. And generally for me, that's once a quarter. I'm looking at, okay, financially, am I doing the right things? For our family, what we're trying to do, are we moving towards that? Then my health and fitness, it's like, okay, are we as active as I want to be? But I think the check-ins are really, really important. And what we do on a daily basis with our clients and tying in our goals planning statement and helping our clients achieve some of their financial goals. Where do you see at the beginning of the year when we're looking at financial goals or whenever we meet with our clients the importance of setting expectations and using the goals planning statement as a way to measure that?
Yeah, I think the big thing that stands out to me is a line I learned a long time ago that still stands true today. It's about progress and not performance. Progress and not performance. And that I think, as we're talking about like measuring things along the way and setting these achievable markers for ourselves, if we're focused on performance, or one of our clients is focused on performance over a short time period, it's inevitable that you're not going to meet that goal. Consistently, maybe even, because the market in the short term is so incredibly variable. It's volatile, right? But if you start to take a look at progress towards a goal, for example, the first thing, obviously you know this, the first thing we do when we put together a goals planning statement is, well, we define the goals first, but then we set up a date-specific, dollar-specific plan that details how they're going to get there, right? And just like any diet or any workout plan, you don't do it for 2 weeks and then expect results, right?
Right.
And so if you're looking at performance over a short time period, you're going to be let down, right? And so what we focus on with everybody, as you know, is that we focus on progress towards the bigger goal. And we measure that, and we define that as your required rate of return in order to make the plan work.
Yeah.
You're gonna have years where you're way up here, you're gonna have years where you're way down here. While it's true the market averages about 10% a year over long periods on average, very infrequently does it hit right on 10%, right?
Yeah.
So it's always gonna be about that mean in some direction.
Yeah, and I love the fact that the goals planning statement gives us achievable goals, gives us goals along the way that we're expecting to reach. And we have check-ins with it to make sure that we're doing what we need to do. But it's really a joint effort when it comes to, okay, what are we trying to achieve, or what are our clients trying to achieve, and how are they going to get there? And when I think about when we first got into the industry, we're now going up 20 years ago, plus, time goes
20
by.
plus, for sure.
If we remember those early on financial plans, or when we were, what we now call those goals planning statement, it was kind of a check off the box. We let it sit on the shelf, and we just tell people we would do it, compared to what we do now, where we create actions for the clients. We tell them, in order to achieve their goals, what they have to save, where they have to save it. And I think for our clients that it makes it more achievable for them.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, being able to understand, like we go back to taking a big swing, like things are not going to happen in a short period, like a year or even 2 years. And so you have to have some measurement along the way, some metric to follow in order to understand, okay, I'm on the path to get to where I want to go. I'm on the right path.
Yeah, I remember some of our earlier clients, well, some of our clients that we've been working with for a long time, they've helped develop these goals. And what I've loved is that the goals have changed over time too. Specifically, I remember one of our clients that said, okay, I need a certain amount of money to retire. And we work towards that number. And then that number becomes achieved, and he's like, well, I'm not ready to retire yet. So here's my new goal. And I think what's nice about the way that we do our goals planning statement is, with clients, the goals are going to change on a regular basis. The world around us is changing all of the time. And it's more about how do we adapt to those changes versus just saying, nope, I'm stubborn, I'm just going to continue what I was doing because that worked in the past.
So in other words, in a more positive way, like moving the goalpost a little bit and being able to make adjustments along the way.
It's a goals planning should be adjustable along the way, and as goals get achieved, we're constantly thinking about what's next.
So does everybody need a plan? If you're investing money, do you really need, like if somebody were to say to you, which they have, I know, so it's kind of a built-in question here, but I'm 35, I don't really need a plan right now. That's for folks that are getting close to retirement.
In other words, is it too soon to have a plan? Or do I have enough money to have a plan? If anybody has any goals in life, they should have a plan. Right? I don't think people should just be putting money away for no real purpose. I think the beauty of investing is that it allows us to outline what we want in the future. It allows us to think about what our goals are, and using money and investing to help us accomplish those goals. But just to think that I'm just going to put money away without a plan or without a process, I think that's a wasted effort.
What is it about it, the effort, that you think is wasted? What doesn't connect for you when you hear that?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a disconnect. There's a disconnect that happens when someone doesn't understand what they're trying to accomplish. Right? It'd be like if I wanted to say I need to lose 50 pounds and do nothing about it. And all I was doing was going to the gym and showing up every day and just sitting there. Versus saying I wanted to lose 50 pounds, and here's the pathway that I'm going to take to achieve that, whether that's how many times I'm going to go to the gym, what I'm going to be eating, what's my nutrition going to look like. I think that's the purpose of a plan, is to show us what we're going to do to get there so that our goals become achievable. They're not just putting money away and saying, I hope it works.
Otherwise, how do you know where you are?
Yeah.
right? Now you think about that investing wise, like I'm just going to invest. Okay, what do you want to happen? Well, I want my money to go up. Well, then you're like, up to what?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, all right, okay, so all right, I get that. I want my money to go up, so I'm just going to invest. I'm not really going to pay attention to what I'm doing or what I'm trying for. But at some point in the future, whether it's you're going to the gym every day, at some point in the future, it's going to occur to you, right or wrong, that I'm not seeing the results that I think I need to see.
Yeah.
So you have no definition of what success is, right? If you don't have a clearly thought out journey of what things on average should look like along the way. And so you're left, maybe you're in February after going to the gym every other day or every day, and you're not seeing the results that I guess on January 1st you think you would have seen by then. So what happens? You stop going, right? Because there was no plan. There was no plan to take to fruition. You're just basing it off of how you feel in real time. And let me tell you, I go to the gym every day. Many mornings I don't feel like it, right? So if I based my, without a plan, I just based on how I felt every day, right? I'd never go.
Right.
But I have a plan that I set every year to be able to, I know I need to achieve this and I'll incrementally get better. So we, as in the financial world and as investors in the public, we have so much information coming at us of all these things that create the impression of all like we need to be doing, right? Whether it's crypto or whether it's, right now, like the precious metals are doing well, right? I think the AI is driving a lot of that. So I need to be doing that, right? Because that's doing better than what I'm doing, and all these things are thrown at us in the media. It's like with no plan, you are so susceptible by just kind of jumping from one thing to the other.
Yeah.
And I think that's what creates, scenarios where you just underperform and you don't end up achieving what you could, over time.
What feels really good is achieving a goal.
Yeah.
Right? It feels really good to say, this is what I'm set out to do this year or this quarter. And for me, having those measurements along the way, that shows me that I'm making progress in the right direction. If that financially is saving a certain dollar amount, if that's going to the gym, if that's cooking a certain amount of times at home so I eat healthier, having those goals that are achievable to me and having those benchmarks along the way is, I like achieving things.
Yeah.
I like feeling good about what I'm doing every day or accomplishing my goals.
Yeah, and for a lot of our clients and us, achieving the goal is fantastic, right? But that's for a lot of things way off there. I like to think of that same thing as falling in love with the process.
Yeah.
And we fell in love with the process, right? What to buy, when to sell, where to reinvest the proceeds. That is something that, going back to the early days of running the strategy back in 2006, something that we fell in love with. And I think that's the key to goal setting, is not so much about setting something, however important it is, setting something way out there in the future that you want to achieve, but actually, finding a way to fall in love with what's going on every day, kind of the grind of it. It's the ins and outs of the strategy financially, what we're buying, what we're selling. Just because we're buying or selling something doesn't mean we're seeing tremendous performance in such a short time period.
Right.
Nor does working out every day elicit some joyous feeling the next morning, like, oh my God, I can't wait to get back to the gym, unless you kind of force yourself to feel that way, right?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we do for a lot of our clients is we help them determine the goal of maybe when they can afford to retire. Right, we tell them exactly how much money they need to save. We tell them once that becomes achievable, we then tell them how much money they can spend in retirement. And we really map out what that process looks like. And I would say for me, there's probably no better feeling than when someone says to me, okay, I'm ready to retire, I've achieved these goals. And I can think of one client recently in particular that this conversation just happened. And he looks at me and says, okay, I'm ready to retire. How do I live off of the money now that we've saved? And we put together a distribution plan now for him to say, this is how much money you're going to live off of. And there was a surplus of money. There was extra money that he didn't expect to have saved over those years, which often happens with career changes and advancements.
Sure.
And he has the conversation with me around, well, now what do I do? And I say, well, you have a couple options. You've now created generational wealth. You've created enough money that you're going to be passing it on to either your kids or your grandkids. And one of the things that he looked at me and said is, well, how do I introduce my kids to investing? And I was like, that is a brilliant question. So what we started doing for his kids and grandkids was opening up actual investment accounts that were in the kid's name, that he could start giving them some of the funds specifically around investing and thinking about their own financial future and introducing them to what investing is. More importantly, what planning is for them even at a younger age. So what's really neat with our clients is we set the goal, we attain that goal, we surpass that goal, and it didn't end there. We showed them how to now introduce the next generation to planning and investing. And I've really enjoyed those conversations because it's around what doesn't happen to the current generation, the kids in their 20s and 30s, is none of them were really introduced to investing at a young age.
Sure.
And a lot of times it's playing catch up, and it allows us to come in there and have an impact on their financial future at a very young age, which I really enjoy, which takes into the other end of the spectrum, which is, well, what are we doing for people that are new to planning and investing, and what you've done with some of those clients?
Yeah, well, I like what you said there too about that older generation being really intentional about creating a way for, whether it's their kids or even their grandkids, to have an ability to learn about money and planning in the right way. I mean, that makes such a difference versus when you think about some of the folks that have come to us, say in their 40s, right? And they've had perhaps a retirement plan, like a 401k chugging along for a while, and they've had some other types of things. But then again, somebody in their 40s probably, most likely has a family, and they've got all these different priorities going on where, investments, even though they're trying to save, kind of take a back seat, and they're not as intentional as they could be, right? And so one of the things that I love when it comes to working with younger folks that are making some money, but that don't really have or have had any kind of introduction to a process or a plan, is to really have that conversation. A little bit different though than my experience with somebody often that's in their 50s or 60s or even older, where, okay, they've been around the block, they've had financial experiences throughout their lives. They came to us a lot of times with no plan, or a plan that was far outdated, right?
Yes.
But that conversation goes in a different direction. It's all brought back to earth with the goals planning statement. And once we map that out for them, I think there's something of an eye-opening experience, light bulb going off experience, where like, oh, I can start to see how this works and how important it is to sacrifice going forward. So it's a different dynamic than talking to somebody 68, but the goals planning statement, because whatever your goal is, as we talked about before, it's having that date-specific, dollar-specific approach to achieving something, for a lot of people, brings everything back down to earth for them.
Right. All right, so here we are in the beginning of the new year. What are some of your goals for this year? Let's bring this back to goal setting for 2026 for you and I.
One of my goals is just to find other things in my life to get incrementally better at. So I love to play the guitar. And one of the things, I never really set a goal of, hey, I really want to be able to do this in the future, right? So I'm trying to spend at least just 15 minutes every day, 15 minutes of just picking up the guitar, which now I've kind of greased the skid, so to speak. So against Danielle, my wife's wishes, I keep the guitar stand right in basically the middle of the living room sometimes, so that it's very easy to walk by. Yeah. If I'm not like running to have to do something, I can pick the guitar up, sit down for a second, and 15 minutes goes by. It feels like a lot quicker. But that's one thing that I'm, have set a goal for this year.
Yeah, and I think for me, one of the things that I'm working on is getting better at things that I enjoy. And one of the things that I enjoy is getting out there and playing golf. And what I have found is you keep doing the same things over and over again wrong, you're not going to get any better. Yeah. So one of my goals this year is to work with a coach to kind of improve my game, to kind of outline exactly what I need to be doing to improve my golf game. So I find it more enjoyable, not just going out there and playing.
So if I were to ask like Vinny or somebody else, he would probably say that having played with you a bunch of times, that you probably haven't set many goals for golf.
No,
until
it's
now,
just
right?
my goal for golf over the years has been I just want to get out and play more.
Yeah.
But now I want to be more intentional with, yes, I want to go out there and play more, but
Yeah.
I want to play better.
Yeah.
And the only way that I can do that is I believe in coaching. I believe in having someone to help facilitate a plan for me, like we do on the financial side with our goals planning. Is I need a plan to help me get better, and now
Yeah.
I need to act on it.
Yeah, writing it down, like the goals planning statement is a written document, right?
Correct.
And so writing things down like that, I find is really helpful for me.
Yeah.
And so, and that's what I've done with the guitar. As I'm thinking right now, one of the goals that I've had in the past, which I haven't achieved in terms of consistency wise, was I want to read more.
Yeah.
And I do read a fair amount, but it's inconsistent. And so it's like one of these things that I learned about many other people have done this. It's like, I'm going to commit to a very achievable goal every night. And that's, hey, no matter what, when I get into bed, I'm going to read 10 pages of the book that I'm reading. All right. And what ends up happening is if you stay consistent to that, you end up reading more than 10 pages, right?
Yeah.
And it's like 10 pages is easy, however long it takes you, and you end up reading a lot more and achieving more. So that's one of the things that I'm going to write down. So next episode, you can ask me about it. Say, hey, how's the reading going?